Hello, hello. Some words to share with you today, which I call the Uptight Buddha. I know it's a mischievous title. The Uptight Buddha it's inspired partly by a friend of mine who has Parkinson's, and but is a very awakened being. And as he's observed himself and his Parkinson's, he's noticed that it doesn't affect his awakening in any way, but nonetheless, it makes his body uptight. So he's got this tightness and this quivering and this, energy field that he's inherited in some way. And so he refers to it as the Uptight Buddha. And I thought I'd share with you this because I think it's a very deep piece of wisdom, because we often think we have to be perfect, and we think that the field of awakening or the Buddha principle is this very blissed out person sitting in, perfect awareness of all that is, and, everything's perfect. And it's not always that way. We have whatever we have to deal with in life. And yet, like my friend, it doesn't have to affect the awakened clarity of our inner nature. And I think this is a really great teaching for all of us, for the new eon, if you like, because we have these expectations of ourselves and therefore of others. We expect everyone to be super clear or super aware or, super moral. And, we're just humans. And the awakened, and we also kind of maybe expect each other to be more awake. And actually we are what we are. And so it's a really powerful thing to allow yourself permission to be awake in whatever state you're in. Because if you bring your full attention to the moment, even now, while you're watching this, take some deep breaths. Just bring yourself into the moment. And you right now are as awake in this moment as Buddha, as Christ, as the most exalted being, because you're sitting here or standing here or driving or doing whatever you're doing in perfect presence with whatever stuff is going through you. And this is the Uptight Buddha, because sometimes we are a rolling passage of consciousness that is unfinished, that is incomplete, that is moving and striving towards perfection, and yet, may never get there. It's like, if we got there, what then? And one day, of course, all consciousness will attain that perfection, but then it'll be done. The movie will be over and something else will be born and begin. But it's like, it's not about the ending. It's just about the journey itself. And so if we can let go of some of that heaviness, a friend of mine recently told me this story about the Buddha or the enlightened ones, where when you died, you went up to heaven or into that heaven realm, and before you got in, you get the scales, the divine scales, and they put your heart on one side and they put a feather on the other side. And if your heart is heavier than the feather, then you're sent back. You have to come back round and do some more learning. But if your heart is as light or lighter than the feather, then you're allowed to come in. It's a wonderful story. And, can you be lighthearted at that level? With the world as it is, with all the chaos and crisis and, questions and worry and, about the future of us all and, all the difficulties that we face and the divisions and the opinions and all of that, can you maintain a lightheartedness? You know, it doesn't mean you make light of difficult things. No, it just means you maintain a lightheartedness in the core of your being. And then you'll be weighed at some point, you know, and like, if you really want to be free, if you truly want to be free, we're going to have to drop some of this baggage that we're carrying, you know. This person's wrong, that person's, you know, unenlightened, that person's this or what, all of that stuff. Light-hearted means that you can be empathic. Empathic means you can see everything from the other person's, from the opposite viewpoint. It means you could see your viewpoint from its opposite with equal empathy. And that means you can still hold your view, but wow, you're going to hold it in a lighter way. You're going to be like, wow, I'm just holding this because it fits with my character. It fits with this persona that I have in this life. In another life, you know, over there, if I'm inside that one, I have a different persona. Yet it's the same underlying consciousness. So we're going to have to expand way beyond these divisions that come into the world, you know, whatever they are, you know, whether they're gender or vaccines or whatever, you know, whatever, wherever our opinion goes and fixes, wherever our view lands, you know, we have to hold it lightly, you know, and that's where, you know, the whole of humanity, in a sense, is uptight Buddha, you know? And yet we're in that stage. So we have to hold even this stage as lightly as possible and see it that, you know, we're going to move through this stage. We're going to move progressively into transcendence. And it's going to take the journey it takes. And, you know, the journey, the bliss, the awakening is in how we get there, not when we get there. It's like every step is precious. So can we be in this eternal present moment that the mystics continuously remind us of? Because that's the only thing that keeps us safe. It keeps us in that center of the hub of the wheel, and then we don't get lost in the spokes. And the spokes is all the different machinations and, you know, divisions and possibilities and viewpoints, you know, each spoke looking from a different place. And it's wonderful to travel around some of those spokes and see through them. And yet we also need to be the one in the middle, the hub, which doesn't move, which never changes, which always is the great unchanging. And that's my reminder today, a simple reminder that wherever you're at, in your being, in your body, in your emotions, in your relationships, in your community, with relation to your business, your job, your purpose, or your lack of purpose, that you can be uptight Buddha if you have to be. It's okay. It's okay to be right where you are. You're needed to be right where you are, but be there with awareness. Be there with contemplative, you know, mindfulness. Be there with love and acceptance for yourself, you know, and then you can soften and you can yield into that presence and that whatever is coming up, whatever shape your life is currently taking. And you'll take a lot of pressure off your shoulders because you'll stop wanting things to be different from the way they are, even though you may still have that evolutionary urge, like, yes, of course, we all want to improve and find more peaceful ways of being. And yet that begins with us just being with, well, okay, but today I'm here and I'm going to really embrace here. And how beautiful and simple and timeless a teaching that is. So, blessings and blessings and blessings. The uptight Buddha.